Okay, let's wait and see for a minute or so.
You're live.
Hey.
Oh, there's 3 likes.
Oh, wow. That's quick.
Is anyone here?
Don't know. Doesn't look like it. If you're here, please let us know, guys.
Yes.
Where's it?
Hi.
Isaac's really excited.
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Hey guys.
Hello. Hey guys. So good having you here.
This is so weird, when you do it at the start and you're not sure who's here.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just see 2 people now.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
We don't know who you are, but say hi if you can. I think there's a little box on the bottom right to type.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is.
Oh, so thank you guys for joining us in this live discussion. We wanted to take some time to have a chat with you guys. Hi Eloise. Wanted to take this time to have a chat with you about the recent events that's been going on in regards to the murder of George Floyd and also the protests and the rioting that's been going on.
Hi Destiny.
Hi Destiny. We're good, thanks. How are
We're
you?
good. I hope you're well.
And the rioting and the protests that's been happening, and just generally racial injustice in the world, and especially in America in this current climate. And this is a topic that's really close to our hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that on our channel, for one, that we've spoken quite a few times about race, haven't we? And we just felt that it would be fitting for us to discuss this topic. We couldn't just carry on with our usual vlogs and not discuss this topic at all. It just wouldn't be right at all.
Definitely, yeah. And it's racial injustice, injustice as a whole, and also police brutality that's been happening in America. It is something that we openly discuss with our son Isaac. He's old enough now to understand, really. So that's why he's here.
Yeah, it's an angel face.
Yeah. So hi everyone. So yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the murder happened about
on the 25th.
A week ago.
Yeah, it was the 25th. So it was about a week ago. And just to give you a bit of insight, if people aren't aware, so basically the gentleman George Floyd, he was 46 years old, and it happened in Minneapolis. And he was going to a store, and the shop owners believed that he was using a counterfeit $20 note.
It turned out that it was real money.
It was actually real money, wasn't it, after all that? And the police were called, the police came, and then he tripped over. No, he went in the police car. He said he was claustrophobic. Then he came out. Then he tripped. And then as he was on the floor, they held him. And then they called some other police officers. And the main guy, what was his name again? Can you remember?
Can't remember his name,
yeah. But the guy that actually killed him, he kept his knee on him. He was held down on his neck, on his back, and on his legs for over 8 minutes. And
I think
8 minutes.
Yeah, it was a really long time. Can you imagine like, someone squashing your neck, and when we play fight and you say, "Daddy, get off me," but then they're pressing really, really hard, and then
on the
for
ground
8 minutes they're not letting go. So.
Yeah, but just imagine like when you're on carpet, you've got some cushioning now. It's just on the ground,
and I'm just lying down on the cushions.
Yeah,
but was it like rock that his head was like leaning on?
It was on the pavement.
It was on the pavement.
It was on the hard pavement.
Yeah, it was really sad. And I think what struck me about it was just the fact that the guy that was holding him down on his neck, he just, even though George was saying he can't breathe, even though he was saying, he called out for his mum, which just broke my heart. I've only just managed to watch the whole video today, actually. I was watching it and I was just in tears. And even talking about it now just gets me emotional. Yeah, and he was just crying out and saying, he can't breathe, his stomach was hurting, his whole body was hurting him. And the guy, I mean, usually at that point, as a human being, you would have some form of empathy. And I just saw no empathy on him. He looked down, had his hands in his pocket, looked very nonchalant, looking just like with no emotions whatsoever, looking very smug actually, and very cocky and arrogant. And I just thought, gosh, just no regard for human life, just none whatsoever. And it really hurt me, it angered me, so many emotions. But yeah, it's just as I've said before, enough is enough. We're just fed up of hearing about one after the other dying just so unjustly, and with the authorities not acting quick enough, which brings us down to the whole riots and the
protests, and then the riots.
Yeah, the protests first, of course. I think a lot of the times on what I've seen, a lot of the sort of peaceful protests that haven't been promoted as much, they haven't been on TV. You don't see as much of them. You see more of the rioting. Whereas if you do search for them, you do see a lot of peaceful protests. But obviously, it's more of the riots that sells the news.
So I mean, because a lot of our viewers are from America, we wanted to ask you, how are things over in the States now? Are you guys have you guys been affected? What's the general atmosphere over there?
Yeah, really would love to hear from you.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of reached boiling point, and this has been happening for so long. Do you know what I mean? Like the Black Lives Matter hashtag movement. I think it was 2013, probably. And so 7 years ago. And what's changed? Nothing's changed. Do you know what I mean? And we talk about protesting, and there's different ways of protesting. There was the NFL player that started taking the knee. During the national anthem. And
quite a few since then.
That's a peaceful protest, isn't it? And has it achieved anything?
You had the guy, the police officer that was praying as well with them.
Okay.
Yeah, he was praying on his knees as well.
When was this? Oh, recently?
Just, since the whole George Floyd thing. Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's just reached boiling point. I think people are fed up. There's been no change. There's been no change after all these years.
Yeah.
And Black people are still being killed by the police. And I think this is why there is so much anger, and it's transpiring into the riots.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Rioting and the looting.
Yeah.
So
please feel free to comment, guys, just to let us know if how it's affected you. What your thoughts are, what your views are on protesting, on the rioting as well. What views are on the justice system as well. We'd love to hear from you, especially those that are in America as well, because obviously we're here and we're just seeing what we see on the news. We're having to have a look on YouTube as well, just to get different perspectives. But we'd love to hear from you and to see what you have to say as well.
Definitely. I think on the really, on the positive side, although there has been protests and rioting, we've seen some news clips of police actually joining in with the protesters, which was really moving. And I think that is so important, because although Black people are being killed by the police, it shouldn't just be an issue for Black people to deal with.
Not at all.
Like you said before, it's a human issue.
It is a human issue, definitely. And I think it's so heartwarming just to see so many non-Blacks that are there, protesting peacefully, whether you see it on a small scale or a large scale. On my Facebook and Instagram, it's great to see, so many people do the Blackout Tuesday, to do the hashtag Black Lives Matter. So that really does mean a lot, and I think it carries a lot of weight as well when you see, for example, a white person, speaking out against it as well. So I think it really holds a lot of weight. So we appreciate that, definitely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lucy.
Eloise says, interested to hear your thoughts on racism in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
your own experiences. How common is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you want to start or me? Or?
Yeah, I think for myself as a Black woman in the UK and growing up here, I'd say my experiences have been mixed, to be honest with you. I think when I look back, my worst experiences were definitely when I was younger. I've had, so many racist remarks growing up at school. And I haven't had, I'd say since adulthood, it has definitely not been as frequent. But then definitely as a child, I'd say even at secondary school, I've been called black this, black that. So, and some other awful, I've been called the N-word as well. And so, yeah, that's racism, bold racism. I think a lot of the times now, I think it's a lot more covert. So it's not as in your face as much, but then I say that, and then I reflect now actually on when I was deputy manager for a company it's a company in Solihull, which is just outside of Birmingham. And I remember when I started there, so we had it's a store basically. It's a clothing store for those who aren't aware, and basically what happened, we didn't have any security guards at that particular store. We only had them in the actual centre itself. It was like a mall. And I remember one of the managers there said to me, when it came to security, you need to look out for the black ones. And I thought, wow, so bold saying it to a black person. But if it was a fact, then I'm here to hear, I'm here to listen to see, if it's a fact. But then the whole time I was working there, literally, I think there may have been about 3 incidents. I was there for about a year and a half. And I think there were about 3 incidents that I was aware of with black people. And the other ones were non-blacks. And I just thought, it's so sad. It's so disappointing and upsetting to think that the black ones that you saw that did steal from the store, they're the ones that stuck out to you. And because of that, you equated that the people that steal from the store are black.
Must have had that thought already in the head before.
Yeah, they did.
That
Yeah, absolutely. And I just thought that's clear racism. And so that's definitely something that sticks out to me, actually. And that was more recent. It was only a few years ago. So that's definitely one. And I think there's a lot of institutional racism. I think there's a lot in the workplace, but then quite covert, I would say, not as blatant as it was for me, to be honest with you, back in the day.
It's less socially acceptable now, I think, in England. And I think relating UK racism to the topic about police brutality, I think things in England are a bit better. I think there are less black people being killed in the UK.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think part of that is because we have less guns in the UK. But at the same time, George Floyd wasn't killed by a gun.
No.
And Eric Garner, 2014ish, 2015, he was choked. Yeah, he wasn't killed by a gun. So you don't need guns to kill people. No. But I think if the UK had guns more widespread, I don't know. I think would things be as bad as in America? Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to say, isn't it? It's something because we're not in that position. It's hard for us to sort of even answer that. But then I'm happy we don't.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, definitely happy that we don't.
Liza, do you want to read that?
I'm so sorry that happened to you. Really I appreciate you talking about your experiences, Heart.
Oh, yeah. My pleasure.
Yeah, but I was thinking about this. I think in America, I don't have much experience in America. I've been there twice, 2 or 3 times, and racism just seems a lot worse in America. And I was thinking, why is that? And I was thinking, America's a relatively new country, and it's built on racism, really, in a way. The natives were invaded and just expelled from
Yeah.
killed, really.
Yeah.
And then it was built on slavery. So, and that wasn't that long ago.
No.
When was it? 1800s, 1700s.
1800s.
So, yeah, I think the civil rights movement that was in the 60s, wasn't it? 1960s.
Yeah, 60s, yeah.
And that definitely wasn't a long time ago. So, I think America's still got a long way to go. You know, when it comes to improving race relations, and yeah, it's a shame, really.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Even to do with like the type of crimes that they have out there as well. You were saying about like the saggy pants.
Oh yeah,
things like that as well.
So we were talking about what's your thoughts on this, guys? We're talking about, you know, we've got the protests and the riots now, but what's next? What is the aim? You know what I mean? Like how are we gonna resolve this issue of police brutality? I was thinking about this, and Nora Rose, 50 years ago. Hi, Nora.
Thank you for that.
Civil rights movement, was that?
Yeah.
50 years ago,
50
yeah.
years ago.
And yeah.
Not long at all.
People are alive.
Yeah, gosh, so many people. Yeah, absolutely. Our parents, you know, were alive.
Yeah.
My grandparents, aunties, uncles, so many people.
I'm nearly 50.
Oh, please.
I'm 40, so.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
So I was thinking, you know, what's the way forward? How do we resolve this? And I think it was Martin Luther King that said something along the lines of a law can't make a man love me, but it can stop me from being lynched. Or something like that.
Yeah.
So a few years ago.
I hope your family's doing all right. Yeah, be doing well. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much.
Good, thank you.
I hope you and your family and all your loved ones are doing well as well.
So a big part of it is the law.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's been so many killings of black people over the years in America. And I think hardly any police have been prosecuted. And that's where the issue is. Like, if there's no justice, if there's no accountability, then what's going to change?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I'm in no way police bashing here. Like, there are many amazing, you know, policemen and women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we're talking about the bad apples that are unfortunately just tarnishing the organisation.
Exactly.
And I think unless the organisation stands up for what's right.
Yeah, and implements laws to protect black people as well within the country.
Yeah, there won't be any change.
No, that's it. And that's why you see, you know, the protests are amazing, but that's why you do see riots, because, you know, hurt people. And I think that it's just, as you said, they've just come to a boiling point and they're just frustrated, and it's just like they feel that they're not being heard and they're just, you know, acting out of anger. So, and Martin Luther King, he said that riots are the language of the unheard, which is so true. So that's what they do. They just feel like their voice isn't being heard. They feel that society has let them down. They feel that, you know, they feel they've got no loyalty to it, because they feel that, oh, you know, they don't care about us anyway. So I think that's what I'm seeing from them anyway.
Do you blame the rioters?
I think, you know, it's not something that I promote, but I can see why they would go down that route, because they're feeling that things aren't changing, and they're just feeling like they just need to take drastic action. They're angry, they're frustrated, they've had enough, you know, and they're just not feeling like their voice is being heard. And so they're just acting out of rage. They're enraged. You know, we're not talking about, you know, something small here. People are losing their lives, you know, in a humiliating way, which is just so unacceptable, on the street in front of bystanders. So, well, thank God it was, to be honest with you. So it was being recorded, you know, and thank God for the days that we are in now that people have phones to record them. So yeah, they've had enough, you know. So as I say, I don't promote it, but then at the same time, I can definitely see why that they've responded like that.
If we're angry and we're here sitting in our in the safety of our living room in
Yeah.
England, where the police,
Yeah, you're not
aren't too
hearing of
bad,
that. Yeah.
and we're angry hearing of this. Like, how much more angry are the people
That are there.
there that are thinking, if they're black, they're thinking, I might go on the street tomorrow and be killed by the police for nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I think that's why, as parents, we just kind of think, gosh, we've mentioned it before that we've considered in the past moving to America. And as I've said,
I'd love to move. I would have loved to move to
we
America.
love the country, and we've had such amazing experiences and really great memories from travelling out there as well. But then we've got a son here who is perceived by society as black. He's part black, and just think
it's not safe.
gosh, yeah, it's not safe at all. Not whilst they say it's like blue versus black. It's just you just don't feel there's any sort of protection really.
Hi, kids,
And no justice. Oh, hi. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
So, yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about that? I mean, we've, those of you who have kids, is it, how have you, discussed these issues with your kids? The issues of, the dangers. It boils down to the dangers of being black.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's a shame and the thing is, it's a shame that we've had to have this conversation with Isaac, because he's very much aware of cultures and the different cultures, and he knows that you just don't judge people based on what they look like, by the colour of their skin. But unfortunately, he's aware as at the same time that he may well be judged because of the colour of his skin, and not only that, taking it a step further to see that somebody has been murdered by a police officer, that he was unarmed, he committed no crime because it wasn't even a counterfeit note, and even if it was, come on, like he was brutally murdered. It's just murder, and it just really, it's just disappointing that we're having to have these conversations still in 2020. We've had a black president. You would think that that things would change dramatically. If you were to look in a history book and read that, there was a president called Barack Obama, and you would think that following that, years to come after, that there was just a dramatic change in sort of race relations and in the reduction of murders towards black people and people of colour. But unfortunately, it seems like it's on the rise, and just police are just abusing their authority. Sad.
Don't think Donald Trump is helping things.
No, definitely not.
No.
That's a whole little story.
And then the thing is, he was voted in by the people.
That's what's frightening.
So, and it's kind of weird, isn't it? Like
going from Barack Obama to Donald Trump. That I remember when you told me, I said, I thought it was a joke. And you were like, no, he's been voted in.
What changed, isn't it? So,
Mommy?
Sweetheart?
The guy was like murdered for something that he did not do.
Exactly.
But Isaac, also, even if he was guilty for something, it doesn't mean that the police have the power, or should have the power to say, okay, you're guilty, and not only that, because you're guilty, I'm going to kill you.
Exactly.
So the police don't have a right to do that. So.
It's called abuse of power. And basically, he's not above the law. Just because he's a police officer doesn't mean that he can just throw his weight around and do anything. Just like us as parents, just because we'll tell you, Isaac, you can't do that, doesn't mean that we can, just like beat you or abuse you or hurt you in any way, So we're here to protect you and to look after you, and police officers, that's their role and that's their job to, to protect society. But unfortunately, he didn't. He did the absolute opposite, you see. So,
kids, happy to places. Where are you in UK or USA? So we're in England. We're in the UK.
Yeah.
We're in the Midlands, which is kind of in the middle. Of England.
It's in the middle of England, not far from Birmingham.
Whereabouts
are you from?
Eloise says, I think it's great you're educating your children about important issues so young. I didn't learn most of them until I became an adult.
Oh, thank you, Eloise. Yeah, we just think it's really important because Isaac is very inquisitive and he's a smart boy and he asks lots of questions. And he's mentioned about colour from when he was very young, and it's not because of any conversations that we've had in the house. He's just observant, and he's even had incidents, unfortunately, at school whereby we've had to explain to him, the reasons potentially why he may have been treated by, unfortunately, a teacher that has been a particular way towards, a number of children. All the children that she's been really rude towards has been people of colour, unfortunately. And we saw the pattern, and we just had to explain to him that, he's not a victim, and we've explained to him that, this is not something that you look out for, but then if it actually occurs, that you're aware of it. So we don't want him to have a victim's mentality, but then at the same time we want him to be fully aware of what's, of society and the world that we live in, because as you said, you learned during adulthood, and I think it's good just to kind of, we don't expose him to absolutely everything. Like I would never have shown him, how George Floyd passed away, but we just explain that, his knee was on his neck and it was horrific. It was really horrible.
Nothing too graphic for you, is it?
No, not at all. He's only 7.
Yeah, I forgot I'm 7.
How old do you think you were?
I thought I was 6.
Really? You've been 7 for a few months.
Kids happy to play. Good to meet you too.
Yeah.
Where are you
lovely
from?
To meet you.
Actually, let's take this time to, introduce one another, really. So
absolutely.
we'd love to know where you guys from.
Yeah. And if it's your first time joining us, my name is Adelaine.
My name's Yukaman.
My name's Isaac.
That's it.
And his brother's asleep upstairs.
That's his little sister. So he has a little sister. We're a family of 4. And we're from the UK. I was born here. My parents are from Jamaica. And Yukaman was born in
Holland. And my parents are Chinese. From Hong Kong and China.
That's it. And Isaac was born here. Yeah.
Talking about Hong Kong and China, so on Facebook there's this British Chinese group, and they said, we're showing support for Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Yeah.
But I think we still have some way to go, I think, globally, because there was some comments by people and they were saying, are you guys going to show the same support for the protests that's going on in Hong Kong? And I'm thinking, just what's the relevance? You know what I mean? Like, the protests in Hong Kong are people protesting about, political policies, but there's people here, or in America, they're protesting about someone who's just been murdered, an innocent man that's been murdered. So
I think sometimes people try to kind of the selfish nature in us as human beings. I think we often draw the attention towards self. So we see this incident, but it's like, oh, but what about? And that's when people are saying all lives matter. We've never said all lives don't matter. That's never been the case. But I've read it on so many posts. But this is the pressing issue at the moment, that Black lives are appearing to not matter in the USA. Police are murdering Black people. So we're just talking about that, and that's the issue. So there was a great analogy when somebody was saying that, if you have 2 houses and one's burning and the other one is not burning, you're not going to say that, all houses matter. That house is on fire. People may be in there. They're about to die. The house is about to be burnt down to the ground. You respond, and you respond quickly. And that's the only way you're going to make a change and the house not get burnt down. And that's why we're saying Black Lives Matter, because we're trying to really bring awareness to the topic of Black lives mattering, because, as I mentioned, it's just really sad to see how they've been treated in America.
I think some people
awareness.
I think some people get offended by the term Black Lives Matter, because
gets them uncomfortable, doesn't it?
They're thinking, oh, does my life not matter? But like you said, it's not about that.
No, not at all.
I think a large part of it is just understanding. I think I think sometimes when you're in a position of privilege, you might not understand, you know,
Yeah.
what it's like to be on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
And you know, on the topic of privileges, I think, you know, I'm in a position of privilege. I understand that. Do you know what I mean? I understand, you know, I understand black people are in an unfavorable position because of the color of their skin when it comes to police brutality. And my privilege as a Chinese person, you know, I can relate to that, but I never have to fear it because I
Even
really
though you've
doubt.
experienced racism.
Yeah, I've experienced racism, but I know that it'll be very unlikely that I'll be killed for no reason by the police for walking outside.
A prime example, or just like a basic example, is like, you know, when I've told people, oh yeah, my husband's Chinese, when it's come up in conversation, and say, oh, I bet he's really smart, or I bet he's really good at, you know, the stereotypical maths, or, you know, there's a lot of positive things. And I'm not saying that you've received, you know, lots of negativity, but, you know, you don't really hear what sort of feedback have you had when people have found out that you've had a black wife? Anything negative? Or, well, we've had negativity, obviously.
Yeah. But I think most of the time it's been fine.
Oh, okay.
But then, apart from, you know, the few incidents we talked about, about, it's not like overt racism, you know, but
the subtle things.
The subtle things, like, you know, talking about people talking about, you know, Isaac's hair, he used to be straight. Isaac he used to be straighter when he was younger. And people saying, oh yeah, his hair's nice and straight, you know, he's better this way, and things like that.
Yeah.
So little things like that. Really.
Yeah, just the subtleties. Yeah.
Well, I don't think people are, I guess, brave enough. People that know us.
Yeah.
People that know us aren't brave enough to kind of just say it outrightly, you know, saying, oh, I don't like black people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's true. They're a bit, very much. I think the British people, very much like that anyway, aren't they? Sort of a bit more reserved with their opinions, I think, in lots of cases. To say back.
Kids.
Oh, yes. Oh, so you're black, Brazilian. Wow, amazing. Your husband is English. Fantastic. So do you live in England? Louise, I'm in London, but I'm from Leeds. Amazing. Oh, I love Leeds, Eloise. Love
the Leeds accent is really cool.
I love the Leeds accent. I love Leeds for shopping, just the social life, everything. I love Leeds. Hometown was 100% white, and London is so much more. That's so true. We love London, don't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely big fans of London. We go back and forth quite frequently.
Has this one ever been?
Yeah, of course. When we've stayed over and everything. And even when we went, remember when she got drenched? When we all got drenched in London. When you
So my hometown was 100% white, and London is so much more diverse. I used to work in a hotel, and all of my colleagues were black, and the amount of racial program abuse they would receive in class was ridiculous.
Oh gosh, it's shocking. So it's just awful, isn't it? I just think.
Was that in London then, Eloise? Just out of interest.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's the racial profiling. It's just the presumption of just so many things. If you're not having much money, of you stealing, and all of those stereotypes. It's just disgusting.
Eloise, I always thought that because London's so mixed, I really thought that, you know, racism was at a minimum there. But I guess that's not the case. But then
it's the sort of things like the racial profiling, you see. So sometimes
and abuse.
Abuse, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's not good at all.
No.
Central London as well. Wow.
Yeah, you think London? Yeah,
so diverse.
We go to London. And
so multicultural.
It's more mixed than here.
Way more mixed. Yeah, absolutely. And they know a lot about. You know, I've met people from Vietnam, and they know a lot about the black culture, which quite shocked me. People that I've worked with, And yeah, they say, oh yeah, I'm from London, and even though I've mentioned about the curry patties, and they're like, oh yeah, I've had lots of different curry patties before, and I think I was just like, wow, it's not something that you see as much in the Midlands.
No.
So it's a really diverse city.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love. So we need to go. So how can we make a change? I think that's the main thing.
I think this is going to sound passive to a lot of people, but
yeah,
I think as Christians we have to pray. You know what I mean? We have to pray about it.
100%.
But so it was mainly people coming to our holiday in London that would be abusive towards my colleagues, not locals.
That's interesting. Wow, that is
because I guess
terrible.
London's is full of tourists.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that makes sense then.
That is such a shame. Not acceptable.
Yeah, I think prayer's got to be first thing. But it was interesting. I was having a chat with a friend today, and then I said to him, I'm kind of torn both ways because, you know, as a Christian, you know, we need to show love, and rioting isn't love. But at the same time, I know that with all this rioting, people are finally being heard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a message is being sent across.
True.
And he said that but Jesus said, you know, be angry but sin not.
Sin not, yeah.
Which is why, you know, remember the people that were doing business in the temple, and then Jesus smashed the table.
So I was thinking about that actually.
I was thinking smashing the table. What's the difference between turning over the table and turning over the shops? Do you know?
Okay, for one, it's Jesus. We're not. But then I think you're smashing other people's property, and it's against the law.
The tables probably didn't belong to Jesus.
Yeah, but he had the authority to do it because he was Jesus.
But we're meant to follow what Jesus does.
Yeah, true. But
I don't know.
We've got to go by the laws of the land as well.
I'm sure, like the Jews had their laws about smashing tables.
No, they don't have. Yeah, interesting. That's good to talk about it. Yeah, it's true.
What did it pray at the temple to God, and Jesus is God?
Yeah, Jesus is God.
So I guess he was allowed to do it.
No, the Jews. A lot of the people didn't believe that Jesus was God at the time.
Not at all.
So.
But I think that, you know, how we can make a change is just using our voice for good, you know, and I think it's really important that no matter what platform you have, whether it's in your conversations with friends, whether it's conversations with family, whether it's on social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, just to use your voice for good and just to try to influence and create change. And there's, you know, obviously peaceful protesting as well.
And racism is ignorance.
Yeah.
So it's about just educating yourselves and experiencing different cultures.
Yeah, and asking questions, speaking to Black people or people of ethnic minorities, and just asking, you know, what experiences that they've had, and you know how it was for them growing up, and you know why did they draw that conclusion that it was racism? How do you know it wasn't just the fact that they didn't like you? Just all those sort of things. And I think it's just really important. Just don't be afraid to ask these questions at all, because that's, you know, healthy discussions. We're all for that, and I think that's what we like to promote on our channel, is healthy discussions on these topics and not being afraid to speak about them, because you know you stay silent and you're pretty much on the lesser side. You know, it's important to speak up.
And it just came to me that I think people need to travel more.
Yes.
It sounds silly, but
no, it's true. Yeah.
Like I think sometimes we're so locked up in our own cocoons that, you know, we think that we're just more superior than anyone else because we're in the majority.
Yeah.
And everyone else is minority. And unfortunately, as humans, we can be really nasty sometimes. You know what I mean? Like have some sort of pack mentality. You know, it's us versus them.
Yeah.
Whereas when we travel, we go to other parts of the world and we see people in their own environments. We suddenly become the minority.
And you're like, ooh.
And then we think, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that comes hand in hand with just education and getting rid of that ignorance that we have as people.
It's true, absolutely.
So
Totally agree. Should we close it there?
Yeah,
I
we'll
think
close
so.
it there. So we just want to say thank you. Thanks for
Thank you
joining
so
us
much
in
for
this
joining us. We
conversation.
appreciate it. Thank you for your feedback as well.
Yeah.
And for sticking around. We can see there are more people in the chat, so we appreciate it.
Thanks for the comments and
Absolutely.
joining in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
our next weekly vlog will come out same time on Sunday,
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
UK time.
UK time.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's like 2. Is that right? 2 p.m. American time?
2 p.m.
It depends.
2 p.m. East Coast.
East Coast. That's like New York, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eloise, thank you. Wishing you a lovely evening. Thank you,
Thank
Eloise.
you so much. Thank
Thanks
you for all your
joining
comments.
in.
We appreciate it so much.
Have a lovely evening as well.
Enjoy your evening.
And take care, everyone. God bless.
Stay safe. God
And
bless you all.
See you on Sunday.
Okay, take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And